is WNBC for New York. And now, this is News for New York.
Good evening, I'm Carol Jenkins. Ralph Penza is off tonight. From Manhattan to the Middle East, the hunt for answers into the World Trade Center bombing intensifies. Tonight, the latest on several fronts. 3 men arrested yesterday are released. We'll trace the Middle East roots of the prime suspect, Mohammed Salameh. And we'll have the latest live from the site of the blast as investigators inch ever closer to ground zero. First, the latest on the investigation. Federal agents have unleashed a global dragnet for suspects in the bombing. Steve Dawson joins us with the latest developments in the case. Steve.
Well, Carol, the first order of business involves the 3 men arrested by the FBI last night outside of Brooklyn Mosque. Today, they were released. The U.S. attorney has declined to prosecute them on stolen car charges. But for the first time, we know who Mohammed Salameh is and where he hails from. 25-year-old Mohammed Salameh continues to be the government's prime suspect in the World Trade Center bombing. With Salameh being held without bond, investigators are attempting to further link him to the explosion through physical evidence, as well as his associates, past and present. Today, the government of Jordan confirmed that Salameh is a native Palestinian with a Jordanian passport. He was born in September 1967 in the village of Badia on the Israeli-occupied West Bank. A spokesman in Amman said Salameh has no previous criminal record, but promised the Jordanian government has begun an investigation of its own into Salameh's past. Friday night, agents raided a storage locker in New Jersey rented by Salameh. In it, they found 100 pounds of sulfuric acid, nitric acid, and urea, chemicals which can be used to make a bomb. They removed the explosive chemicals and later detonated them at Liberty Park in Jersey City. On the day of Salameh's arrest, investigators had also found bomb-making equipment during a search of the Palestinian's apartment.
And among the things recovered were tools and wiring and manuals concerning antenna, circuitry, and electromagnetic devices.
Agents also found traces of nitrate on the rental papers used by Salameh at a New Jersey rental car agency where Salameh rented a van allegedly used in the explosion. So with all the progress that's been made so far, agents say the motive for this bombing remains unclear, although a Palestinian connection does seem to be emerging. Carol?
Steve, very briefly, what do you make of the releasing of these 3 men so suddenly?
Well, it leads to a lot of speculation that perhaps the stolen car charges wouldn't hold up, or perhaps they want to keep an eye on them, and the stolen car charges is not the way they chose to do it.
So more maybe in the offing.
Maybe.
Thanks very much, Steve. Well, at the site of the blast, the digging, the sifting, and the search for more clues continue tonight as investigators close in on ground zero. Kevin Rosen joins us live from the World Trade Center. Kevin.
Carol, out of the tons of rubble below the World Trade Center came one small piece of evidence that cracked this case wide open. And one of the investigators being credited with finding that piece of evidence is a New York City police officer who refused to take any personal glory, calling the discovery a team effort. New York City Police Lieutenant Donald Sadawi is one member of a team of bomb squad investigators who picked a small piece of metal out of the tons of rubble. That small piece was the vehicle identification number of the Ryder truck that cracked this case wide open. Lieutenant Sadawi and fellow investigators from the FBI and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms have not stopped their search for clues.
There's still a tremendous amount of work to be done in a lot of areas, whether it's at the investigative scene or follow-up investigations. Our particular job here with everybody here is the scene investigation and providing the information we find here to the investigative teams.
Investigators have not yet reached the bottom of the hole created by the blast. These new pictures of the crater show you just how much work still has to be done before any search for a missing person or investigation of the tons of rubble below can begin. Port Authority engineers are feverishly working to shore up the damage.
The safety of the worker is paramount, so obviously we got the lateral bracing. Now we have a better ability to survey the perimeter, develop techniques on how to do that, and a week is a good guess as far as having a hole through the plaza, having a crane down, being able to access and take material out.
So it could be about a week before investigators get to the point that has been called ground zero. It is there that may be more clues to this case, and quite possibly the body of a man who has been missing and feared dead since the blast last Friday. Carol?
Kevin, thanks very, very much.